take you with them on a bus or train, on a highway or on a plane, backstage or on a bike. It's Kevin Kline's Fuzzy Mike. Fuzzy Mike interviews. Not top of mind, not even the news. No way. Just a bunch of stuff that Kevin likes. All recorded with this Fuzzy Mike.
You get the Don King reference. It looks
either that or a tip of a horse's tail.
So we'd like to thank you all ahead of time for listening to Fuzzy Mike with your friend Kevin Kline.
As a country morning radio host in Houston, Texas, we have access to a lot of country artists that make their way from Nashville to Houston to play private performances for us. And sometimes I will host what we call up close and personals for the station, and they allow me to cut these up and use them for the Fuzzy Mike. For those who don't get invitations to these private performances, she had separated from Christian Bush, her counterpart in the band Sugarland, to start a solo project. And this was a portion of the conversation I had with Jennifer Nettles. You were born to sing.
Thanks.
You were absolutely born to sing.
Thank you. I sure love doing it, so that's a good thing.
If you weren't, what would you be doing?
You know what? If I weren't singing, I would probably... in college, I studied anthropology and Spanish, so I imagine that I would be parlaying that into some sort of activism, probably in Central America, if I weren't doing this. Yeah.
When did you know that singing was what you wanted to do?
When I was like 5 and 6 years old.
What's the first song you remember singing?
Oh, a church song, actually, for a Christmas play.
Huh?
Yeah.
You guys did, you and Christian did a Christmas special where Come O Come Emmanuel was one of the songs you guys did.
I love that song. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. That wasn't the first one I ever sang.
That was not the first one?
No, it was like a children's play about children all over the world at Christmas, and I think it was some song. I was supposed to be a representative of Sweden, and I had this big crown of lights, and I had to say, and my home is from Sweden, and I had to, I tried the accent and all those things.
Isn't it weird how things like that stick with you, though? And you're remembering this, and, it was probably 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah, just a few years ago. Yes. No, but I remember it, and I remember loving not only singing, but loving, connecting with the audience. I think that for me was the biggest part of it.
And that brings up a great question, because when you started singing, your eyes were closed. Mm-hmm. After you hit the first couple of lines, your eyes opened up. What do you look at? When
everybody?
When we give speeches and stuff, they say look over the tops of people's heads.
Oh, yeah, no. I like to get into it. I like to see how people are reacting and who's being moved in what way. Or, I usually make the joke at shows. It's like going to the zoo. You think you're looking at the monkeys, but they're really looking at you. It's a show for me, too. And that connectedness with the audience is part of the joy that I get out of playing music, and that's what it's about. It's supposed to be a stage and real live people playing real live music with, a real audience.
Why do you close your eyes at the beginning? You're not the only artist to do it, but I've never been this close to an artist when they start singing.
I think it's just getting into the place and getting into the story of the song, and allowing yourself to go there and become a character in a way, and putting yourself in that place so you can be a storyteller.
Each song has its own place.
Each song has its own place. Many of them, a lot of people like to think that every song that I write is completely 100% autobiographical. Thank God it's not, because there are some crazies and there's a lot of pain, and then there's a lot of joy too, that goes on. But while I may pull from different parts of my own life, I also, get inspiration in lots of different ways. That song, actually, I wrote that song in a very different way than I've ever written a song before, and that was being inspired off of a photograph. I have a friend who's doing an art project, and that's part of it. She sends a photograph to a songwriter, and the songwriter writes a song, and then the song gets sent to a painter, and the painter paints a painting based on the song, and it goes down the line to see if it remotely resembles anything in the beginning. So she sent that photograph, and I'd never done that before, looking at a piece of visual art before and saying, okay, let me be inspired by this. It was fun.
Was it difficult to get inspired by it?
No, it wasn't. I looked at it and I thought, okay, it was actually good because I got out of my own way. A lot of times as artists, you can as writers, you can get in your own way where you put too much, you're too attached. You have too much ego into it. I don't want to really say this. And I got out of my own way because I just looked at the photo and said, all right, where is this story? Where is it taken me? And it was a photograph of a beautiful fall, like autumn scene with this windy road that looked nostalgic, these beautiful red and orange leaves, super vibrant. And I thought, okay, where does this road, what's the significance of this? And I sat down, though, very much further away because I was gigantron pregnant from the piano and, and wrote it.
Well, not only is that song written in a different way, but you're completely in a different mode now, doing a solo project. Only one other performance, up close and personal, have I just wanted myself to just shut up and enjoy because what is going on. Darius Rucker was that artist.
Right
he
on.
has such a soulful voice, and every note tells a story.
Yep.
I feel the same way today about you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That almost moved me to tears.
Thank you.
That song almost moved me to tears.
Thank you very much.
And
That is wonderful company to keep, by the way, to say Darius Rucker. So
He's
thank
incredible.
you. I love him. Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for a high compliment. I appreciate it.
I'm having a blast today.
I'm having a blast. This is super fun for me. Are you kidding? I mean, the thing is, I've sat with these songs for so long, either in writing them, because I've been writing for this project for 3 years, really on the whole, as I've been kind of steering my ship that way, and then obviously recording them. So I've been loving them and holding on to them for a while, but this is what it's about, getting to play it for people.
Being solo, is this a rebirth? Is this a new energy level for you? Is this like kind of like getting back to the basics and recreating?
In a lot of ways it is. I think it's a recreation, absolutely. I really believe in life every few years, like every 7 to 8 years, we recreate ourselves anyway. I mean, when you think about it, of what's going on in each of our individual lives. So I definitely think this is that for me in the musical form.
And you've said you've been writing these songs and living with these songs for 3 years. How did you break the news to Christian that, hey, dude, I'm doing a solo project? Doesn't mean the end of Sugarland, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I love what we do with Sugarland. And Christian and I have worked together for so many years that we're super supportive of each other. So it's a matter of a conversation like with anybody else you're close to.
So then how does a solo project... Why couldn't Sugarland do these songs?
You know what? For a couple reasons. I think a lot of times what can happen as an artist, once you get pegged within a certain sound and a certain energy, I think it's really easy to become a caricature and a cartoon of yourself because you just get put under the magnifying glass, and then that's all everybody wants to hear because they think, oh, just do a bigger version of yourself. Just keep it getting bigger and bigger. And I mean that in the artistic sense. I mean, clearly everybody would love to be as successful as they can. But I think it's super important to recreate yourself and reinvent yourself as an artist. What we do with Sugarland was super intentional. We wanted to play it in huge venues and huge arenas, and we wanted that sort of masculine energy. I love playing with that, and clearly Christian is a guy too, so I love doing that on stage. But I wanted to do something that was more intimate and emotional, and that was just me, so that people could see just that side too.
I read today that if you had to do one Broadway role, that you would want to be in Wicked.
I love that show.
Yeah?
So
Oh, my
much.
God.
I love it so much. I saw it at just the right point in my life where I was like, I am Elphaba. I want to sing Defying Gravity and all that. Yeah, I would love to do
Kind of go off on a tangent there, but we were talking about...
Sorry.
No, it was completely my fault. But
Girl,
we were talking
stop.
about
Sorry.
things that you realized you had made it. The first time you saw a fan with a Sugarland lyric tattooed on their body.
Love. I love that. To me, I think tattoos are art, and I always say, the old adage, and it's in actually one of our songs, but sometimes we like to choose our scars, and I think let the only scars that you give yourself be art. That is for sure. So I really like that. I use them, tattoos to be a reminder, and sometimes you need a reminder of things. So if somebody puts their lyric on my lyric on their body, I'm just like, well, that's an honor,
Sure.
to be that kind of reminder. Hopefully it's something positive and like they don't take part out of context something from jealousy and put that on there. That probably wouldn't be good. But on the whole, I really think it's nice.
Geeky musical question here. Does anybody know what Jennifer now has in common with Metallica, Slayer, Slipknot, Run DMC, and the Beastie Boys? Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin produced your new
did.
CD, your solo CD.
He did, yes.
What does the producer do?
Well, it depends on the producer, but they are obviously in this case, they help choose the players that are going to be on the record, the musicians, and is a huge guide throughout the whole process in the decision making. I mean, obviously the players come in and they're top of the line players on this album. A couple to name a few. I played with Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He played on this record as a drummer, and then Ian McLaughlin, who he played with the Faces and Rod Stewart, and as well as the Stones and the Barbarians back in the 60s and 70s and stuff. So it was just wonderful players, but Rick then comes in, a producer comes in and helps facilitate that and help guide the sound. For me, it's the sound the record has a cohesive sound, and he was a huge part in that. And and also part therapist. They're part therapist for sure, when you feel like you get stuck, and really to help be a meter for how it's going, because you can get in and play things over and over and over again until you kind of get too lost in them, and he's a good guide for that. So it's an overall manager and facilitator of the whole project.
He's been named by Rolling Stone magazine one of the most influential people ever in music. And he would be a guy that I would just completely freak out if I was in the same room with him. Yeah, I
have a bit of a crush on him. Even for as long as we worked on this project together, I have a musical crush on him. It's one of those things like when I stand next to him, I feel like I'm going to say something stupid, like a schoolgirl, like, you're all summer. I don't know. I still feel that way, even though he was obviously great, and he's super approachable and really warm and kind.
And so he would do that to you. You've been in the same room with the president and President Obama. You said you played the inauguration. You played Shower Me People, the James Taylor song. Yeah. Who would freak you out, though, if you were in the same room with that person? Living, dead, doesn't matter.
Man.
Who couldn't you control yourself around, Jennifer Nettles?
Well, in some ways I try not to meet those people because I don't want it to be, disappointing. But some of them I have met. I mean, I've met Dolly Parton, and I loved meeting her. And obviously to me, she's the biggest country entertainer of all times, and one of the best entertainers of all times, period, across the board, not just country. She's such an icon. And actually, funny story, when I met her, I was doing the CMA music festival that's in the summer, and she had just performed, and we were waiting to perform, and she's coming off stage in her little everything perfect self, and she's holding the microphone, and she's walking toward me, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Dolly Parton, she's walking toward me, oh my God, it's Dolly Parton, she's walking toward me. And so she walks right up to me, and I was like, that was so good, and it was just sounded great. And she was like, thank you, honey, could you do something with this? And she handed me her microphone, and I was like, I don't know if she thinks I'm a stagehand, or if she's just literally like, I wanted to consider it something symbolic, like she was passing the torch, so to speak, to me, because I was like, girl, I will do something with this. Let's go. So yeah, funny story. She won't remember that because I do think she might have thought I was a stagehand, but I clearly remember it.
Very ironic, that story, because Jennifer made her acting debut on NBC's special Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors, where she played Dolly Parton's mom. 4-time Academy of Country Music Award winner, 6-time Country Music Association Award winner, and 3-time Grammy Award winner. My conversation with Jennifer Nettles from Sugarland. This episode of The Fuzzy Mike, engineered by Andy Hudak, also produced by executive producer Trish Kline and AJ Ramos. My name is Kevin Kline. I'm your host. We'll see you next time on The Fuzzy Mike.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Fuzzy Mike with Kevin Kline. Check back often and stay fuzzy, friends. Fuzzy Mike is a presentation of the Kevin Kline Fuzzy Mike Industry, Incorporated, LLC.